welcome back to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Shannon Register, and today we are talking about the economy. We're talking about the presidential election. We're talking about a lot of things going on around the state and nationally. So welcome back to the program. If you've got a real estate question, you can call us at 844-788-9444, and we're happy to answer your real estate questions right here on the air. We spent a lot of time a couple of weeks ago just answering call-in questions that were really good questions that I think people learn from these questions you guys have, and we're able to bring in people to answer them for you. So we appreciate your feedback. That number again is 844-788-9444. Last segment we were talking with Dr. Jim Gaines from Texas A&M University's Real Estate Research Center, and he's the chief economist there. So we're going to go back to him. He's Skyping in from College Station. So welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we talked a lot last segment about what's going on nationally, and I want to move on to Houston. But before we do, just with Trump being elected, I want your opinion on this because he knows a lot about real estate. And
yeah.
I think that that's a good thing for our industry. And one of the biggest issues, we had many issues this year. One was the oil and gas issues, which it wasn't the worst thing that's happened to Houston. Obviously, we have a lot of other industries that kept oil and gas from impacting us detrimentally, like it did in the 80s. So that wasn't the worst thing, but then it was compounded by all of these new regulations that came out of Dodd-Frank, which hurt not only real estate, but the mortgage industry, the title company industry as well. And then we had these nasty presidential elections that just kind of made everybody fearful of what the future was going to bring. So with all of that kind of behind us, does Trump have any ability to change any of these Dodd-Frank regulations and how they're being implemented and all the things that the CFPB is out there doing on their own unregulated? Is he going to be able to fix any of these issues?
I mean, that's the $64 question, Shannon. I don't know. There's obviously the legal process, the political process. They would have to go to Congress. The part of the optimism we were talking about is that we have an administration and Congress that theoretically at least appear to be from the same party. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether they're in lockstep with each other or not, right. And that's an issue. So what he might want to do versus what Congress might want to do, ultimately Congress would have to pass a law or change a law or repeal a law. Some of the regulations that have gone on with presidential order or by executive decree, the president, the new president, can change that, mm-hmm. Repeal it, or take it back. What he's really going to be able to do, regardless of what he wants to do, but what he'll really be able to do is going to have a lot of limitations to it, and especially on the timing. Yeah. We live in a world now where we have instant communication, we have media, we have Twitter, and we have Instagrams, and we have all kinds of messenger. So it's all instantaneous. Well, the world doesn't work instantaneously, right? And so these things that could come into play might be a year, or even 2 years, or even 3 years down the road to be able to change them. The optimism or the anticipation is that they will eventually get changed. At least you think so.
Yeah.
And it's not just Dodd-Frank, it's EPA, it's FDA, it's Department of Labor, it's the Department of Justice and how they're going after things. It's a whole host of things that for the last several years we just seem to have been in this malaise where everybody was just turning everything over to the Federal Reserve for monetary policy. They had been running the economy for the last 8 years. Nothing else. And the interest rates, I'm anticipating your question, interest rates are going to go up. They're already started. I'm anticipating they will here in a couple of 3 weeks when they meet and have the open market committee meeting at the end of this month or just before Christmas, that they probably are going to bump the rates a little bit. But the rates are already creeping back up. The 10-year Treasury and the mortgage rate have crept back up this month of November.
So buyers need to buy before the end of the year for two reasons. One, because interest rates are going up, and two, because they want to get that homestead exemption for next year.
They want to get the homestead exemption. Exactly. Now, I don't think the rates are going to go up to the point where it becomes real problematic for the whole market. It's obviously going to affect people right on the margin. It's going to affect.
It's been
people
incredibly
maybe
low for a long time. I mean, so low it doesn't even make sense to have money in the bank.
Yeah, it's still going to be less than 5% for most of 2017, I think. And so in the fours, the market operates just fine. Even into the fives, the market will operate fine.
Yeah.
There's going to be a psychological jump point in there somewhere. But the housing market nationally is trying to pick up, but we're creating households. During the recession, so forth, people doubled up, tripled up, moved back in with their parents. Well, now these people are decoupling. We're back to creating 1.25 million to 1.3 million households a year, and we're not creating new housing units fast enough.
Yeah.
Accommodate. And in Texas, it's the same thing. We talked about that in the first segment. The population growth is just exploding. And again, the same thing, households being created. A lot of young people moving to Texas, moving to Houston in particular, and have moved here in anticipation of getting jobs. We've been lucky in Houston so far, plus or minus, it's a job break-even year. 2016, depending on how you interpret some of the data, and I don't want to get technical with it, jobs more or less flat for this year. But as you pointed out, we didn't bust. We didn't go back into the 80s where we just had a big collapse. We've got these young people. That's the reason the apartment market is still going. It's going to get a little weaker. The rents are going to stop growing as fast. There'll probably be some vacancies, maybe some rent concession in the apartment market. The office market is already showing that significantly. It has slowed down a good bit because of the business slowdown.
No.
But home buying is still fine. We are discovering an interesting phenomenon that will be interesting to see if this continues into next year and the year after, and that is people are living in their houses longer. They're not turning the houses over
like they were.
We used to figure 5 to 7 years, and now it's more like 7 to 9, maybe even 10 years to turn over. That's one of the things that's affecting the inventory of available homes for sale and affecting the sales level. Just how many sales we have is we just don't have a lot of houses being offered for sale.
How is the new construction market faring?
It's doing okay. Relatively speaking, relative to the rest of the country, Dallas and Houston rank 1 and 2 in that order in new home construction and in housing units.
In Texas or nationwide?
Nationally.
Oh, that's good.
Despite the fact that Houston has had such an economic slowdown, Dallas-Fort Worth has not had that slowdown.
Right.
They've slowed down a little bit, but quite arguably.
They don't have the oil and gas issues we have.
They didn't have the oil and gas tie.
Yeah.
The national economy gotten a little bit stronger. Third quarter GDP number just got raised up to around 3%. We're seeing Dallas-Fort Worth still going pretty strong and holding forth. Houston's housing market, we actually anticipated a bit of a downturn for this year, and it really hadn't come into play. Its volume of sales is more or less equal, plus or minus about 0.5 point, equal to what it was last year. Home prices are up considerably, 6, 7, 8%. That's not uniform because you'll find pockets around town that are different, but on the broad level. And that's because, again, the tight market, the short supply relative to the demand, prices will continue to go up. My projection for this year is that the prices will continue to go up, probably at a little bit slower rate than the last couple of 3 years, but still up nevertheless. Home sales volume for the brokers that are listening in, right now, we're anticipating not that big of a change. Again, plus or minus a 0.1% up or down, somewhere in that vicinity. We don't see an economic rebound of note because mainly we don't think the oil prices are going to jump back up that much. But we do think that they've bottomed. We do think that we've seen
at least we have that. What is going to happen with our luxury market here in Houston?
It's going to take it has already slowed down. The high end market always is different than the market at large.
Right.
The high end market was never a market of a 3-month inventory. It just doesn't work that way. We've looked at the data by price segments.
Right.
And that market was always somewhere around 8, 9, 10 months. Now it's running about 12, 13, 14 months. So
a lot of the average house sales in Houston, your $100,000 to $250,000 houses, you kind of that average in there. Those houses are sitting on the market a while. We know that there's an abundance of those houses. When do you expect those to start moving again and selling within the
100 to 250?
Yes.
Those have been doing
slowest
well,
market.
actually.
Well,
when we look at the statistics on it, one of the reasons they're doing well, there's still a lot of investor buying. Buying that, and that's the price we're going to look in. One of the problems, the reason that market slowed down was the people who were interested in that price bracket were the ones having the most trouble qualifying for the loans under the regulatory requirements you mentioned earlier, meeting debt service, debt income ratio, and employment history, and FICO scores, and down payment. I mean, it's first-time buyer market, it's entry-level market.
Right.
And contrary to some of the popular press that has put out that the millennials and the first-time buyers are being more active, that's a relative term. And quite frankly, I was just looking at some data earlier this morning, as a matter of fact, that entry market has not picked up as appreciably as people might think it has. Did I say that correctly?
I think so. Let's talk about 2017. Will it be more of a buyer market or more of a seller's market here in Houston, in our market?
In Houston, it's shifting a little bit from the seller's market more to the buyer's market. There is going to be a little bit of slowdown in demand. Some of that population growth is going to slow down a little bit. It'll be really job growth. If we see it pick back up, it'll be pretty good. But we think it's going to be a little more balanced. I don't know if it'll even be. It's been a seller's market for the last 5-6 years. To some extent, it'll continue to be seller's market as long as we're less than about 5 months inventory across the board, which we currently are.
Okay.
When we get up about 5.5, 6 months inventory, it'll balance out.
Okay, here's a question for you. The FHA has come out and said they're going to raise limits, but it's such a $10,000. Is that going to do anything for anybody? No. I just don't see buyers in that $400,000 price point needing an extra $10,000.
No, it's a nice token, sounds good, looks good, but in the overall scheme of things,
those aren't the people having trouble qualifying.
Yeah, now you'll find some individuals where they're right on that cusp where it might make some difference, but there's so few, it isn't going to make any big difference overall.
Okay. Farm and ranch properties, how are those going to do in 2017? Because we saw a lot of people selling farmland, ranch land, because that was kind of their second home, vacation properties.
They were cashing out.
Right. So what do you think in 2017? Will we continue to see that? Yeah,
I think so. I think so. We, as you know, we track land values here, rural land values here at the center.
Yeah.
Dr. Gilliland is the expert in that, but we were looking at the data not long ago. And we can see a little weakening in it again. It's always a little dangerous to say prices will go down. It's more accurate to say they won't go up at the same rate.
All right. Well, you've given us a great outlook for 2017 and kind of what we can expect. So I appreciate you Skyping in with us today, Dr. Jim Gaines from Texas A&M University's Real Estate Research Center. We always appreciate it when you contribute to the show. You give us a lot of great information for our listeners. So thank you so much for Skyping in.
You're welcome, Shannon. Anytime. Love to do it.
All right. We appreciate you. Keep up the hard work you guys do out there, because y'all give us great information. So we know what to do. We know what's coming. So appreciate that. All right, we'll be back after a word from our sponsors here on Houston Real Estate Radio. If you've got a real estate question, give us a call, 844-788-9444. And if you missed any of today's show, you can catch the videos at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com.
Imagine you and your family return from a tropical vacation to find that one of your pipes burst, flooding your entire house. Are you fully covered? Will you only receive $100 for your TV that cost you $2,000 just 2 years ago? Will your insurance company pay for you to live in a hotel while your home is being repaired? What if on that same trip you lose your wedding ring? Will your home insurance coverage replace that as well? All insurance policies are not created equal. If you don't know the answer to these questions, you're not alone. Most people don't understand the gaps in their coverage until it's too late. Call Goosehead Insurance today and let one of our agents review your current policy to ensure that you are fully covered. At Goosehead Insurance, we understand the power of choice. Instead of working for a single insurance company, our agents have access to over 20 A-rated carriers. This allows us to craft a policy to fit your particular lifestyle, budget, and needs. It also enables us to reshop your policy in the future if necessary, saving you time and money. No need to look for another agent. At Goosehead, we've got you covered. Our agents will walk you through each policy decision so that you have the coverage you need. If that's not reason enough, talk to one of our happy clients. Our client satisfaction scores are 3 times the industry average. To experience the Goosehead Insurance difference, visit us online at goosehead.com or call us at 800-474-1377.